Okay, number 4 here. Banks considering a marketing campaign urge parents to start college savings, targeting families with incomes over $40,000. They're going to proceed with the campaign if it appears at least 10% might be interested. When a pilot test presented the campaign materials to a random sample of 200 parents, 26 expressed some interest. Okay, so it looks like we want at least 10%, so I'm thinking proportions. So let's let P equal the proportion of families that will start the savings. And this is a result of the campaign, right? Okay, so the proportion of families that will start savings, that's P. And I want to know if at least 10% do it, then I'm going to proceed with it, right? So if P, we're going to assume P is 10%. And we want to know, do I have evidence that it's greater than 10%? Because my sample is 26 out of 200, which is 13%. So in other words, they're asking, is this 13% here, did that just happen by chance? If 10% really were going to do it? Or is 13%, wow, that's a much bigger percent than what happened by random chance. Okay, so we want to do the one proportion z-test. All right, and there's my hypothesis, and I define P, and my conditions are has to be a random sample. Well, random sample is given. N 200 is less than 10% of all families. That is definitely true. 3 is NP, 200 times 0.10. NP, P is 10, is bigger than 10, and NQ is bigger than 10. So okay to proceed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a one prop z-test in my calculator. So stat test, one prop z-test. P0 is 0.10. X is 26. N is 200, right? This right here is your X, and this is your N for the calculator test. And I want to know, is it greater than 10%? So I get Z is 1.41. The p-value is 0.079. So does the sample results provide evidence that the bank should pursue it at the 5%? No, since 7.9% is bigger than 5%. I don't have evidence that P, the proportion of families who start saving, is greater than 10%. Now I got to answer the question though. The question says, should the bank pursue the marketing campaign? Well, it's only going to pursue it if it's greater, if I have evidence that it's greater than 10. The bank should not pursue the marketing campaign because I don't have evidence that it's effective. Okay, so let's look at B. Describe 2 ways the bank could increase the power of the test and explain a disadvantage of each. Okay, they could increase this N, the sample size, Okay, so what's the disadvantage of that? Well, I have to pick more parents. Okay, which is, so I guess a disadvantage would be it's time consuming. And costs more. Because I have to have people go pick these random families and then go talk to them, present them with a marketing campaign, and have to pay them. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it adds up if I go from 200 to 2,000 or 500 parents even. So that's one way to do it. The other way is to make alpha smaller. So instead of using a alpha is 5%, I could use alpha as 1%. But what does that mean? That means I'm going to reject less often, right? So if I make alpha, well, first of all, let's say this. Alpha smaller, that means beta goes bigger. That means the power goes smaller. Oops, I meant to go the other way around, didn't I? Because I want to increase the power. So I want to make alpha larger. That makes beta smaller. That makes the power bigger. Sorry about that. Okay, so if I make alpha larger, right, like 10%, okay, that means I'm going to reject, that means I would have rejected H0, and I would have said, hey, it is greater than 10% when it really isn't. Okay, so I'm more likely to reject H0, and I'll say when I maybe shouldn't. So if I'm more likely to reject H0, then I'm more likely to make a type 1 error. Because remember, a type 1 error is rejecting H0 when it's true. And so the bigger this is, the bigger my alpha is right here, the more I'm likely to reject it, the more I'm likely to make a mistake. Okay, but the power is better. And the power, remember, is the ability to reject it when I should reject it. Okay, so you get, I mean, you got to see both sides of that coin. All right, there we go. Let me know if you have any more questions on this.